tell me a little bit about what happened yesterday in Milwaukee at
Okay.
Senator Ron Johnson's office.
Okay. Well, the day prior, I had been trying to get people to, contact their senators as the American Jobs Act was going to be voted on,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing Ron Johnson's record, I was pretty sure he's not going to listen to anybody and vote the way that he ended up voting. So in preparation of that, I was trying to get a hold of anybody and everybody who was willing to show their displeasure with his votes to meet at his office.
Okay.
And so it just kind of, through messaging, we got a hold of people that were interested, and so we met at an agreed upon time, which is the federal building in downtown Milwaukee, and that's a public building, and the bankruptcy court is located in there, and it's not a private office building. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a place where everybody has access.
Okay.
Now when we got down there, I noticed that there was already a police presence. There was a squad car parked right in front of the building, and as I was walking down the street, I walked into an alley and I saw a police car that was, it was like he was trying to stay out of sight.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked surprised when he saw me.
Mm-hmm.
But then, we just continued walking in. It's like, we're not doing anything wrong. We're going to our senator's office to demand a meeting with him.
Okay.
And so as we walked into the building, there were guards there, and there's metal detectors. And right away they started, where are you going? And some people said, with the police presence, we're like, okay, so we're not going to be able to. They're not going to let us in to see him. So people said bankruptcy court. Well, after the second person said, I am also going to the bankruptcy court, the guard said, oh, no, and they were going to have somebody escort, the person to make sure that they didn't go anyplace else. They're like, why don't you take them to the bankruptcy court? And then it was like, okay, why don't you take both of them? And so then finally the guard said, oh, wait, no. You guys aren't getting up to Ron Johnson's office. We know what you're up to. And, it's like, what do you mean you know what we're up to? We want to go talk to our senator. And they said, no. The guy's like, nope, you're all going to have to leave. So at this point, we're like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? So we walked back outside, and we got together, and then we're like, well, hey, this is just wrong. We can't even get to his office and in a public building. So we walked back in, and said, hey, well, you're not gonna let us see him. We're gonna stay here then. And he had his chief of staff came down, and he even admitted that he knew something was going on, because he said, I drove down from Oshkosh last night expecting you people to be here. And he says, I'll meet with 5 or 6 of your leaders, but I'm not going to meet with everybody. And it was pretty much, it's like, hey, I want to talk to Ron Johnson. I want him to look me in the eye, because I got to look my family in the eye and tell them, no, I don't have a job again today. And it's because of him. If he would pass the Jobs Act, that's jobs, especially in my line of work. That's what I do.
What's your line of work?
I'm a union iron worker.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, I would have even been happy if he would have said, okay, he's not here today. I mean, we knew he was still in Washington, D.C., but if he could have said, Senator Johnson will agree to meet with you, on Friday, that would have been good enough for me. Okay, fine. But he's been impossible to find throughout the state. Every place he's gone, he's announced that he's sending staff members. You can meet with staff members of his to discuss stuff. And because this issue is so personal to me, like I said, I want him to look me in the eye. And not only that, but because there were, 19 of us, I think there were like actually 20 at this time, but 19 or 20, it's, every one of us has a different story why we are upset with his decision to vote the way he did. So I felt that was unfair for 5 of us to speak behalf on the other 19.
What
So,
what were the events that actually led to arrests then?
okay, well, right then we said, okay, I'll tell you what, we're gonna stay right here. We're gonna sit right here, and that's what we did. We sat right in place. We left an aisle open so that anybody who was worthy to get in or out of the public building could do so. We weren't, obstructing anything, and we sat down. And I mean, the police being right there, the sergeant came up and he made an announcement. He says, you people are trespassing. You're asked to leave. If you don't leave, we're going to start arresting you. So we said, okay, do what you got to do. And at that point, I was the first one to get, put the flex cuffs on. And I was talking with the police officer after, they were talking about how they were going to go about arresting us. And just kind of setting the tone and say, hey, we're not here to cause problems for you. We're upset with what he did. We want to talk to him, or at least, explain our position to the police. And then at that point, they started putting the flex cuffs on us. There were absolutely no incidents whatsoever. Even though they had a decent-sized police presence to include horses, and they blocked off the street in front of the federal building. But if you look at the pictures, there's like a grandma.
The
crowd was the most diverse group of people I have been with at any protest, and that showed me how it's affecting so many different people. I mean, Hispanics, African Americans, young, old, male, female. It was just everybody willing to get arrested for what they believed in. So then the police, as they're questioning us, there was one that at first he was almost like trying to be antagonistic, but he didn't get that in response from us. And then as he's taking the information, he's asking like, well, where do you work? I said, I'm a union iron worker, but I'm currently unemployed. He's like, they can't get you guys any jobs? I said, and I explained to him, I said, you have, whatever you see the unemployment rate is, I said, it's 3 times worse for us in the construction trades. I said, ours is, we probably have about 40% of our guys off of work. And his eyes opened wide up. And then, he went on to other things. It was more cordial at that point. He's like, did you work on Miller Park? I said, yeah, I did. And, just talking like that.
Okay.
And then I'm like, I said, hey, you guys got screwed over with the furlough days, didn't you? And, a bunch of them right away, yeah, we did. I just had to take, a couple of days off without getting paid. So it was a process, but for the most part, they were siding with us. They even had to stop at some points and say, hey, we can't pick a side. We just have to do this.
Okay. Were these city of Madison police, or I'm sorry, Milwaukee police, or were these, federal officers?
They were city of Milwaukee police officers.
Okay. And I guess I really don't know if that's a relevant question, but people just probably are curious also to know if you're seeing more of the rent-a-cops or security, private security forces as well, because that's
in the building itself had private security.
Okay. So your next, what drew my attention to your story initially actually was seeing a note from you that you were going to get, you think, a audience with Senator Johnson tomorrow in Oshkosh, but you don't really know what time. Now the situation yesterday occurred in Milwaukee, so probably most of the folks that had this encounter are from that area. Is that correct? So you will have to drive now to Oshkosh?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There were the people were from Milwaukee and the Racine area, the majority of people that were there yesterday. And
how did you get the communication that you had this opportunity to meet with Senator Johnson tomorrow? Just curious.
One of the guys that was protesting with us, he relayed the information to me. There's Wisconsin. He does work with Wisconsin Jobs Now.
Okay.
And they were interested in, joining the protest where people wearing their T-shirts that stood outside. There were like 40 people outside protesting the whole time while the arrests were going on.
Oh, okay. All right, got that.
And he called and he says, "You're never going to believe this, but I just, I got information that Senator Johnson said he's going to meet with us. He'll meet with us tomorrow in Oshkosh."
Okay. How do you feel as if he will really follow through?
Not extremely optimistic. I think, I don't know. Because it's sad to say, just the fact that we had to go through what we did yesterday, spend a whole day in jail in an attempt to see him, I don't trust the man, especially after he came out with a comment saying that we chose to try to score political points and be disorderly as opposed to meeting with his staff, because the tickets we received were for trespassing, and as we were being released, the police thanked us and said, "Hey, you guys did this the right way." There was nothing at all disorderly about what we did.
Okay. Huh. All right. What are you going to? Let's say everything goes as you hope. You get up to Oshkosh and you're talking to Senator Johnson. What are a couple of things that you think you'll be asking him or saying?
Well, first of all, the biggest thing, I want him to look me in the eyes, and the whole time he's looking me in the eyes, I don't want him to look away. I want him to tell me exactly why he voted no on this Jobs Act. Okay. Because I'm betting he can't look me straight in the face and give me any reason that could possibly make any sense. Aside, unless he's going to be honest and say, "Hey, I don't like unions, and I'm all about keeping the big money where it's at."
Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff that I don't think he's in contact with the average working person in Wisconsin. I'd almost put money that he's not, and it's just raising a point that he's not in contact with us and what he will do to avoid contacting us.
Mm-hmm. Why were, if you were really gung ho for this, and you're obviously still you want to see this Job Act go through from President Obama, what is there that you can tell me about it, or as other people are listening, they're going to maybe get excited about it?
I've been talking for at least the past year about how our bridges are falling apart, how our roads are crumbling, and it was almost to the point where I'm ready to have a picture contest, and give find the worst bridge and let's point it out, let's fix it. Because looking back at the history of the United States, building our infrastructure, government spending that built our infrastructure got us out of the last depression. And it made us into the superpower that we are. And it's something that's used every day by every single person. And being an iron worker, I drive around the city and I look at buildings I worked on, and it's just, a lot of pride. It's like, hey, I built that. And at the same time, when I go like underneath a bridge or over a bridge, I pay attention to the details that go into that. And I'm like, wow, look at that thing. That's ready to, that chunk of concrete could fall off and hit somebody. Mm-hmm. And this is all about bringing jobs, for people like me. And it's using money. It's getting money from those who can't afford to give more. And it's not like they're probably going to feel it, but the majority of people agree that, hey, the richer people need to contribute more. Let's go back to a time when they did, because right now there's a jobs crisis in our country, and I see working people as being the job creators. When we are working, we have money to spend. And when we spend stuff, that creates a demand, and then people have to hire others to keep up with that demand. Mm-hmm. there's also provisions in here for getting veterans decent jobs. I'm also a veteran, and I can't think of a harsh enough word to use to read about veterans risking their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan, coming back here and finding the only job they can get is delivering pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's extremely, it's very, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right now, it's all the Republicans seem hell-bent on not getting this done just so Obama looks bad, just so, so he hasn't done anything. And it's, instead of worrying about one job, they need to worry about our jobs. They need to get to work so that we can get to work. I'm not asking for handouts. I'm asking to be able to go and bust my rear end for 8 hours a day so I can bring a paycheck home and know that my kids are going to be covered by health care, that I'm not going to have to make a choice. Okay, he broke his arm. Do I try to set it myself, or do we take him to a hospital and not be able to pay a mortgage for a couple of months?
Mm-hmm. The concerns, this the jobs crisis has been with us for a long time, and now we're seeing the new thing on the block is sort of the Occupy movement starting on Wall Street and spreading to all these cities. And I think you folks in Milwaukee have an event. Is it Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah.
And do you see yourself getting involved in that, or do you know folks that are doing that?
Absolutely. I've been, since Occupy Wall Street took off, I've been trying to get union involvement to back them up from day one. I said, this is our fight. We're part of the 99%. We're not wealthy. Nobody joins a union with the hopes of being a gazillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all getting attacked and by these corporations, by Wall Street, that aren't doing anything to help us. And if they're going to take taxpayer money for getting bailed out, well, use that money to help us. Don't give it to your CEOs, the people that ran your companies into the position they were in. Don't reward them with the money that we're giving you to bail out so that you can continue to exist. So I went to a planning meeting for Occupy Milwaukee this just a couple nights ago, and being where I am in the union, I'm doing a lot of listening. I'm not trying to say, hey, we should do this, we should do that.
Okay.
I'm trying to listen to what everybody wants to do, what their concerns are, and I just want to give as much support to these groups everywhere because we are all in it together.
One of the questions that, as people look at this whole Occupy thing, and they're really not, they won't, it'll be like a journalist that may have just a little information or stayed there for a day and then they'll write an article. At least that's my sense. And they're trying to figure it out. And some people, they've tried to say that this is now has union leadership if they see unions march with these folks on Wall Street, or they'll try to say, oh, this is going to go right in with the Recall Walker movement in Wisconsin. My personal feeling on the Occupy movement is that it is actually independent of all these things, that it is nonpartisan, that it is more on the issues that people found a lot of commonality with, which would be, we're not seeing the benefits of this country coming back to the great majority, if it could say it like that. And so for some people, that's going to be jobs. For small businesses, that's going to be trying to get a small business loan and so on. And that is a delicate dance, though, to say, hey, we're a union and we're going to be involved with you, but we have to be kind of off to the side and not start steering the ship. That's my sense of it.
I see it more along the lines of showing solidarity that things are wrong in this country and they need to be fixed.
Okay.
And because so much is wrong, it's not I would not like to see unions, in any way become any type of leadership, spokespeople for this movement. But if you belong to a union, and you believe strongly about this, by all means get involved.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot of other opinions, even though you do belong to a union. There's other stuff that affects you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed, like people that's Ron Paul supporters are at these events, and I find quite a bit, personally to disagree with them. But I'm not going to bring up those disagreements at that point because we have so much more in common.
Mm-hmm.
That things so much is so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like in Wisconsin, where everybody just seems to have kind of fallen into some area where they can help out, whether it's like election integrity or and it's not that there's any real one person or group you can look to say, hey, that's the leader, and call them for all kinds of answers. It's like different areas that need to be fixed.
Okay. Well, great. And thanks so much for talking to me about it. And
Anytime.
What would you like to say your name is for the recording today?
Randy Bryce, RandyBryce.
Okay. Thanks so much, Randy.